What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Full Court Talk podcast. Today it's just me and my guy CJ. We're back, and it's a huge day because it's all about the free agency and pretty much best and
hmm
worst. But we'll go over the topics real quick. So the worst free
hmm
agency signings of 2020, the best free agency signings of 2020, which team had the worst offseason, which team had the best offseason, and worst free agent signing of all time, and best free agent signing of all time. Pretty simple, but this should be a lot of fun. So who's your
hmm
first guy for the worst signing of this whole offseason?
I mean, bro, Gordon Hayward takes the cake. You know what I mean? Not him as a person, but it's just whoever his agent is. Like, you got to give an award to that guy.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
he was able to finesse like the Celtics and now the Hornets. And going off my notes here, so basically, what the Celtics like, they did a sign and trade.
Yeah.
So um, they gave up Gordon Hayward and what two future second round picks
Yeah.
to Charlotte. And so in return, Charlotte gave them a future second round pick, and then they received the trade exception. So this is 4 years, 120 million. So I think he takes the cake. Um, Gordon Hayward unfortunately was not the player he once was with
Yeah.
Utah. He had a rough start with the Celtics. Eventually, somewhat found his footing, but never really fit the bill with this team.
Yeah.
It was an awkward fit for him, especially having Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. And so for him to get that type of contract from the Hornets, I mean, MJ is a great player, but not so much as a great owner.
Yeah. It's pretty bad.
So for me, that would take the cake. And close second would be Marcus Morris Sr.
Yeah.
With the
Definitely.
Clippers. Um, like in my non-biased opinion, the Lakers have the better Morris brother. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And
I agree.
so he did not show enough with the Clippers last season to warrant this much money. He did have some games, and obviously he fits that narrative with that Clipper team of having dogs on that team. But it's just to warrant 4 years, 64 million. Like I said, give his agent an award for securing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as this season's concerned, those two are arguably the worst for me.
Yeah. And to touch on the Marcus Morris, he's like one of those fake dogs, you know? He's big, he's a big bark, no bite. He
True.
he really he was going after Luca, bro, and
hmm
Luca seems like one of the nicest guys in the NBA.
I
But
agree.
like the plays he was making were just dirty, just flat
hmm
out dirty. They weren't going for the ball or anything. He was going for him.
Yeah.
And then to go off his numbers, I understand when you get traded, your numbers are gonna go down. That's just how it is. But
hmm
he went from shooting 44% from three with the Knicks, right, to
Yeah.
31%. That's a huge drop.
That's a drop. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then just 10 points a game. How are you gonna sign 10 points a game when his numbers aren't even good? So I
Yeah.
don't understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
And with Gordon Hayward, when you look at his numbers aren't bad. 17 off 48%. He's shooting well, but when you
hmm
look at him on the court, it's awkward. He
Yeah.
shouldn't be playing power forward. Jason Tatum shouldn't be playing power forward.
hmm
So I think it's crazy because they even offered him 100+ million. The Celtics did.
Yeah.
And same thing with the Pacers. They offered him 100+ million, and they offered Miles Turner, and the Celtics still said no.
Yeah. That's
So
crazy.
I don't understand. It was a really
Yeah.
weird. Just both of them was really weird. But another guy I chose was this one might hurt for you, but Mason Plumlee. I
Mm.
thought him going to the Pistons was confusing. At
Yeah.
first, I did think it was a tough loss for the Nuggets, but
Yeah.
they must know something about Bobo. I think he's going to be something that they kind of build upon.
Yeah.
I mean, Plumlee was perfect for the backup behind Jokic because Jokic doesn't have he's not athletic. We know that, but
hmm
Plumlee's super bouncy, rebounds the ball, decent defense.
Yeah.
But I think, his defensive IQ in the last minute situations was terrible. He lost
hmm
2 games to the Lakers with
Yeah.
Kuz. I think when I saw the first clip with Kuz in the game winner, you kind of look at it oh dang, he got open, and then you look at it again That's Mason's man. And Kuzma doesn't even run like a good route. He just runs out to the 3 into the corner. And Mason's in no man's land, just
Yeah.
chilling.
Yeah.
Then you go back to the AD one. He runs right into Jeremy Grant with LeBron and like, oh, go get him. It's like, it's terrible.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
He has such these defensive lapses,
Mm-hmm.
and it's weird to see something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But those are probably the 3 guys. Like I chose exactly the same as you: Marcus Morris, Gordon Hayward. Just Mason Plumlee hits that list for me.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Yeah, but the best free agent signings for 2020, I actually had Jay Crowder as one of the best, and then the second best was, or obviously the best was Montrezl Harrell. But I figured you were gonna pick him because you're a Lakers fan. But with Jay Crowder, man, he killed it in the bubble, so he earned that contract. I think he was shooting like over 40% in the whole bubble, and then he fits so well with that Suns team. You know, he just defensively with CP3, Mikal Bridges, he's gonna fit nicely on the perimeter, and even helping DeAndre Ayton kind of figure himself out defensively, he should help a lot. And then just being able to hide Devin Booker on defense is gonna be huge for them. Because Devin Booker tried on defense, but he's not the best defensive piece, right? But he's gonna be able to kind of carry the load on offense a little more, so that's really good for them. And I think they're gonna be a pretty good team, but I think definitely like 6th seed might be their ceiling now with the way the rest of the NBA or rest of the West is going to shape up. But what do you think?
I actually had Jay Crowder going second as well. Trez. I think, at first glance, you would think that there's a logjam in that front court position because, they have Mikal Bridges, they have Cam Johnson, and they have Jay Crowder now. Yeah. But of those 3 guys, the clear-cut starter is going to be Jay Crowder now. He's a veteran. He has experience. You saw what we did in the bubble. Yeah. He was tremendous in the bubble for Miami. And, pairing him alongside CP3, who's already a pest on defense, who can be, is just going to make the Suns that much more intimidating. And it's interesting because, a couple of years ago, Devin Booker dropped 72 on the Celtics, and Jay Crowder was one of the first guys to say something about that. You know what I mean? So it's going to be an interesting dynamic. I mean, it's obviously going to be jokes between them, but like you said, Devin Booker is going to be able to hide on defense because Jay Crowder is going to cover a lot of ground in those positions. And so, a starting, lineup with CP, Book, Jay Crowder, and Ain, that's a solid lineup. I'm not sure, with the way the West is of how far they can get, how far they can reach. But, Jay Crowder has definitely earned that contract. I think it's the perfect opportunity for him post Miami because, Monty Williams, one thing I love about the guy is that he trusts and actually you could tell that he cares for his players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so even though Jay Crowder is that tough guy, hard-nosed dude that's going to be in there doing the dirty work, he's going to appreciate that and he's going to buy into that Suns culture. And, they get rid of, Kelly Oubre and other guys who, like to have fun in the desert, but now it's time to get serious. You know what I mean? And so, looking for a playoff push, I think the Suns made a good signing. But, I mean, I'm not even trying to be biased here, but the best signing to me was Trez.
Yeah.
That's a steal. I don't know how the Lakers pulled that off. I was messaging you and I was messaging other Laker fans. I mean, I'm not saying you're a Laker fan, but, just basketball in general, just trying to say hey, man, what are we going to do? We're losing Dwight. We're losing guys left and right, and then out of nowhere, Shams announces, hey, Trez signed with the Lakers 2 years, $19 million. And I think that's an absolute robbery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
The Hornets and the Clippers, they had higher offers for Trez, but he just wanted to leave. The Clippers and him, they have an interesting relationship. That's a whole different story in its own right. But it's just what the Lakers got him for, man. Pelinka, he just pulled some strings. I mean, I guess he was able to buy into the culture, Yeah. And so, Trez is arguably the best signing in the last 5 years, I would say, rivaling up there with KD and Bron in terms of steals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm interested to see because, it's a great signing so far on paper, but the fit is just going to be one question.
Yeah, and I think like what I want to know is how much of the bubble played into
Mhm.
this because they were
Yeah,
seeing each other a lot. It wasn't just
exactly.
during the games. It was like because I think they were at the same hotel, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it could have been that because
Yeah.
LeBron was always talking to him on the court. So it's
hmm
interesting to see like did he talk to him off the court too, like that.
Hey,
But
Spence. I
yeah,
mean, all I have to say is clutch.
bro, it's running deep now. I think like 8 of the 15 guys on the Lakers are with Clutch now. Just saying.
Exactly. Exactly, bro.
Just
Clutch is
wait.
taking over,
Draymond's gonna be like, "Hey, I want to be dropped," and then next week he's signing the minimum with the Lakers. I would not be shocked.
man. Hey, man, it happens, bro. It's crazy how far they came.
Yeah,
So yeah, the relationship definitely helps.
yeah,
So
I agree,
moving forward, yeah.
man. But what Rich Paul has been able to do, it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Because people were like, I remember people saying, "Oh, he's not even an agent; he's just LeBron's friend," and now
Mm.
he's become like the super agent.
Yeah,
So that's
powerhouse, man.
impressive. That's impressive, bro. As much as I hate
Gotta
him,
give it up to him.
it's
Yeah,
impressive.
gotta give it up to him.
So I think this is the
Yeah.
most interesting. But which team had
hmm
the worst offseason? Who do you think?
Well, I'm not even trying to say this because they're the rivals, but Boston. I'm gonna say Boston. They made no type of power moves whatsoever. They lost Gordon Hayward essentially like for nothing.
Yeah.
Who knows? Those future draft picks could be superstars, but I mean, as of right now, they spent so much to get him, and they lost him like essentially for nothing.
Yeah.
And at the expense of developing Tatum and Brown even more, like I said, like they didn't get anything. Like you could argue that Tristan Thompson and Jeff Teague like were solid pickups. I mean, I guess, but they stayed quiet, and with the opportunities they've had in the past, and like you said with Miles Turner and all this, like they didn't pull the trigger in any of
Yeah.
them. So it's just questionable to me. And like I say like they should have, for a team that was competing for a team that was games away from the finals, they should have made better moves to
Mm-hmm.
improve their chances. But I would say them because they were primed to take that leap, but stayed quiet, which I don't understand. And then the other team I want to highlight because I was kind of debating between these two is I would say the Kings.
Yeah.
Like they drafted well, but it's just the guys that they signed like very
Really
questionable.
confusing.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's not gonna help their case in trying
No.
to make the playoffs. And like, I mean, yeah, they extended De'Aaron Fox, well deserved, but
Yeah.
it's just the pieces they're surrounding him with. It's not primed for a push.
Yeah.
And so, like, even though they secured their guy, it's gonna be tough for years to come unless they make some sort of change. But yeah, it's just the Kings and the Celtics for me, man. Like, very questionable.
Yeah. And going back to the Celtics, I'm kind of hoping it's more that like less is more for them because
Mm,
I think they had too many offensive pieces: Kemba, Gordon Hayward, Jason Tatum, and then
yeah,
Jalen Brown. But
yeah,
still, like that center position is still a question.
yeah,
Tristan Thompson's like 6'8", 6'9". He's not tall.
yeah,
And I know you don't need tall guys in the middle anymore, but Tristan Thompson isn't a rim protector.
yeah.
Um, and I'm really confused why they wouldn't take the Miles Turner deal
Oh yeah.
if it was part of the signing trade because it was rumored that Gordon Hayward wanted to go to the Pacers.
He really did. He wanted to go
Yeah,
back to Indiana. I
yeah.
mean, not go back, but like Indiana, he wanted to go there.
I think
So,
he's from Indiana,
oh, okay.
so I
Yeah.
could see why. But I think
hmm
the Celtics pushed too deep and were like, "Hey, we want Victor Oladipo too." That's what I'm guessing. And the
Mm,
deal probably fell apart. And then
yeah.
they got stuck with the second round pick and the biggest trade exception of all time.
Yeah. I mean, like, just to interrupt you real quick, this is not the first time the Celtics have done that.
Yeah,
They had a chance at AD. I mean, AD's father didn't want him to go there,
yeah,
but they had the assets to do it. And that would have been tremendous. They probably could have, went for a chip.
yeah.
But it's just like, I really don't understand. Like, hey, it helped the Lakers out. But I mean, they got away with a draft pick in Jason Tatum and like arguably signing Kemba Walker, but it's just what they're doing now. Like for a franchise to be that elite to not be able to make moves, it's just
hmm
confusing to me.
And like, why are you getting the trade exception if you
hmm
refuse to trade?
Exactly.
I don't understand what the point of that was.
hmm
But
Yeah.
I think they're still going to be a good team. It's just I think they really messed up on this offseason because there
Mm-hmm.
were a lot of good role players that they could have gotten, but they just didn't.
Yeah.
But the team that I was tempted to put the Clippers at the worst because they've had a pretty tough offseason.
Mm-hmm.
But man, the Bucks have had a terrible offseason. They went from getting two guys, Drew Holiday and Bogdan, to just Drew Holiday.
Mm-hmm.
And even Bogdan and Drew Holiday wasn't enough to get Giannis to stay.
Yeah.
So then just not getting Bogdan and kind of just being like, oh, we got Drew. That's good enough. And doing literally nothing the rest of the time. They re-signed Pat Connaughton for an overpriced contract.
Agreed.
And that's the only thing they've done.
Yeah.
We haven't heard anything else from them. And
Mm-hmm.
not also to mention, Drew Holiday hasn't played point guard in like 2 years. He's been
Yeah.
playing off guard as the backup playmaker.
Yeah.
So you traded both of your point guards for a guy that hasn't played point guard in a couple of seasons, and you're still without a backup point guard.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you doing? Why are you like? I don't understand the Bucks' whole motive here. I heard they're trying to shed cap too, so they're trying to cut corners, and we know that if you cut corners, you're not going to win a championship. You're not going to keep your stars.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that they've proved to Giannis that they aren't capable of putting talent around him. So at this point, I think he's going to leave. I don't know to where, but honestly, it looks like Miami. Miami's gearing up for him.
Mm-hmm.
So I just the Bucks have been such a confusing team. You know, they just continue to like just barely get the team that they need, but they just won't keep going because it's going to put them in the luxury tax.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Like going off on what you said, I really do think like the Bucks last season have a way better team than they do this season.
Yeah.
Just on paper alone.
Yeah.
And even though they disappointed last season, it's just that team that Giannis is surrounded with is going to be way better than what they have right now.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like you said, like Drew hasn't played point guard in some years. And, like, what are they going to do? They're just going to tell him to completely go back to what he's not familiar with?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. He's professional. Obviously, he can make the adjustment. But it's just, you know, if he's already started this path, then why not continue on, you know? And going off on that, what are they going to do? Like, they're going to convert Chris Middleton to a point guard himself when he's the second option on the team. It's just confusing. And, like, the pieces they've lost. And then, like, I mean, they signed Torrey Craig and, like, they got Bryn Forbes, but it's not going to replace what they had, like, from the past season, which I think is way better than what they have now. So, yeah, it's just confusing for them as well.
Like, and then, like, losing Wesley Matthews was kind of big for them because they already lacked shooting.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't add any shooters to the squad. They lost shooters. They lost Kyle Korver. They lost Wesley Matthews, like we said. George Hill is a huge one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the only shooting that they did add was Drew Holiday, and he's not even a consistent threat from three.
Exactly.
So I think they bit off more they could chew with the Bogdan trade, and they didn't say like, "Oh, is Bogdan cool with this?" or just like make the trade.
Yeah.
And it's just really like, it's really confusing what they're doing. I'm not too sure what's gonna happen with them, but it's not looking good.
It's not.
So we'll see, but you know, on to a better topic here. Which team had the best offseason? Who do you think?
I mean, I already said what I thought in the Lakers theme podcast, so I'm going to say the Lakers. But for the sake of this one, I want to really highlight the Portland Trailblazers because they had one hell of an offseason. You know, if the Lakers weren't champions, you could rival that they had the best offseason. You know what I mean? It's just because, you know, of the things they did. I mean, first of all, like, surprisingly, you know, when I discussed this with other people, my favorite signing they had is Carmelo. You know, I feel like they owed it to Melo owed it to them because, you know, they were the one that gave him a shot. And I think, you know, a motivated Melo, I mean, come on, man. He turned back the clock against the Lakers and, I mean, the whole bubble. You know what I mean? And so, like, he was good. He was looking good. And, like, you know, how many times did I ask myself, wow, we signed Jared Dudley over this? You know what I mean? And so, like, I mean, Melo, like, he's just a part of my childhood and a well-respected, you know, player for me. And it's just, for me, like, that was one of the big signings. But, I mean, going off on what helps the team, you know, they re-signed Rodney Hood. They got Harry Giles. They retained Cantor, which played arguably his best basketball of his career when he was with the Blazers.
Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, this team, like, they're looking like they're not going to be an 8 seed. You know,
Yeah.
they're not going to be fighting for their lives. You know, they're going to be up there. And so, you know, they were able to, you know, keep a lot of the pieces that what made them so successful. You know, Gary Trent, even Wenyen Gabriel, and so like who had a start in game one
Yeah.
for against the Lakers. And so like I think like for quite some time the Blazers have played around with the rumor of, you know, are we trading CJ McCollum? Because there's no way they're going to trade Damian Lillard. But, you know, with the way they retooled now, especially with Robert Covington, like who's found success playing small with the Rockets, and now he's going to be back to a team where he doesn't have to play his role. I mean, play that big role. He can be comfortable at the three. Like their lineup is going to be nice. You know, Damian Lillard, McCollum, Covington, Cantor, and Nurkic, a healthy Nurkic. And so I think they're going to make some noise, man. And like they're going to surprise a lot of teams.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And like that was the choice I had. The Blazers had the best offseason. I think in terms of a team getting better, the Blazers had the best offseason. Lakers obviously had the best offseason in terms of just like I think they had the best offseason for a reigning champion.
Yeah.
But for a team to go from the 8th seed to like jump up like this, I think the Blazers, man, they doubled down on their duo of Dame and CJ. They said we're not trading them. We're gonna double down. We're gonna just try and make some moves to make them better. You know.
Yeah.
And that Robert Covington trade is gonna be really good for them.
Yeah.
And I think he's just a phenomenal defender, really good shooter. He should fit really well with them.
Yeah.
And re-signing Melo, that's a huge deal. And only getting him for like $4.7 million, something like that.
Yeah.
Steal. He's a good third option. He's a solid guy that can get his own bucket. That's what you need next to Dame and CJ. I think the only thing that they're gonna miss is they got Harry Giles. For some reason I thought they lost him, but that's a good third big off your bench.
Yeah,
and he's
especially with
get some burn.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, sorry to interrupt, but especially with Collins coming from injury, you know what I mean? He's injured and he's, you know, trying to work his way back up because I feel like you know, when the guy is healthy, with the exception of his rookie year because he was, you know, getting his feet wet, but when he's healthy, he's actually a pretty decent player. Yeah. But he just can't stay healthy. So I think you know, you can argue that Giles is the same, but he's found his footing in Sacramento of staying healthy. So hopefully he can do the same with the Blazers, you know?
Yeah, and I think like they have a really good like backup tandem for the bench. And his Cantor, who's extremely like offensive minded, really good offensive rebounder. We've seen him haul in offensive rebounds for like a long time now. Then you got like a guy like Harry Giles who's just super bouncy, super athletic, can jump out the gym. And that's a good kind of like yin and yang, if you will, like offensive and defensive minded guys.
Yeah.
Nurkic looked really good in the bubble, which was really good to see after his really bad injury. So I want to see them build upon that and just make some noise because I love Dame. He's a really good player. Same. So I'm excited to see what they do this offseason or this season, which is in 20 days.
Crazy.
I can't believe it, man.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I remember when we were talking about like, hey, like when is it going to start? Just the month of December and January, and like, you know, the basketball fan in us was like, hey, you know, December, please. but I didn't think it was actually going to happen like this. So I mean, we're blessed and like, you know, we're spoiled. But I mean, the players, it's going to be something else.
It's going to be tough. But we have basketball returning in 10 days for preseason or 11 days. I'm excited, man. I'm really excited.
Same here.
But worst free agent signing of all time.
Oh man,
this is a really tough one to like look at because when you look at like the numbers, like they're all gonna be different. But I went a little more recent. Man, Chandler Parsons.
I have him too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have him as my number one.
I only chose one because when I saw this, like, dang, he was He was really bad and I feel
He
really bad for him because of what the recent news was with him. I don't know if you know, but he got in a really bad car accident and his career's over.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I feel really bad for him, but man, in 2016, money was flying everywhere. Teams were
yeah,
just giving out max contracts to guys who didn't deserve max contracts. Andrew Wiggins. Um,
yeah,
and
exactly.
mediocre players to decent players were just getting paid, man.
Yeah,
And Chandler Parsons was one of those lucky guys because the Memphis Grizzlies were 15 points a game. Man, get him
yeah,
here for 96 million for 4 years.
yeah, man.
And he was only averaging 15 points a game with 47% from the field, 39 from
Yeah,
three. He was efficient,
yeah.
but man, he wasn't good. He wasn't good on defense. If I had to compare him to anyone, it was Kyle Kuzma. That's
Oh,
exactly who he
definitely.
was, except
Yeah,
not as cocky.
yeah,
Maybe if Chandler Parsons went to LA, he'd be like Kyle Kuzma. But
yeah. I agree.
man, he played 95 games in Memphis out
Mm,
of the 246 possible games. So he didn't even play half. He
yeah,
averaged 7 points on 39% from the field and 34 from three.
yeah.
That's tough.
Super tough. I mean, man, you know what? Like you said, I had Chandler Parsons, and
Yeah.
you know, the only reason why I named him from the top of my head as soon as the topics released is because, like I said, 2016 was a memorable year, good and bad. And I don't know what the Grizzlies saw in the guy. They probably thought he was a second coming of Larry Bird at the time. Man, to give him that much for 15 points a game, and he's proven so little.
Yeah.
And I mean, no disrespect to the guy, because in light of what happened recently, but it's just he didn't show enough to warrant that much money, even
Exactly.
even way back when. And this guy is injury prone, and I hate to say it, but I'm glad, I mean, I'm hoping whoever gave him that contract on the Memphis Grizzlies front office is gone.
Yeah.
Because man, oh man, this is one of those guys who you want to give their agent a handshake, salute them even, because he was able to convince. But it's just, yeah, to me, that was probably, in the last couple of years, that's probably the worst of all time. And
Yeah.
the only reason why I didn't put my next pick is because of how much money Chandler Parsons get. But bro, when the Lakers signed Mozgov and Dang, oh my god, bro. Hey man,
Oh, that was funny.
those are times where I was trying to convince myself, hey, you know what? We're gonna make the playoffs and we're gonna be all right. You know what I mean? That's how you're loyal to a team. Even with bad signings, you're trying to convince yourself,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah, yeah.
Dang is gonna go back to how he was with Duke or even Chicago. And the Lakers are still paying him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They got denied, and you know what? As they should. A lot of Laker fans are complaining, wow, why can't we, you know, just not pay him and all that stuff. I mean, we made a bad decision. We got to own up to it, man. But yeah, combine those two, 4 years,
That's
both,
really bad.
yeah,
Really bad.
4 years for those two, totaling 136 million, man. Are you serious?
Sheesh.
Hey, Mitch. Hey, I'm glad you're with Charlotte now. And I mean, look what he did with Gordon
Yeah,
Hayward.
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
You know what I mean? And so, man, as good as I talked about the Lakers recently, I mean, going back on this topic, bro, 136 million for those two players. For Mozgov, who didn't even do much in the finals against the Warriors, bro.
Yeah.
He was saddled out for that small ball, and we're gonna give him that much, man. I mean, thank God we've come a long way. But yeah, it's just those two were my picks, because those guys, they're agents, legends.
Yeah. And I think
Legends.
I think when you look at remember that picture of Mozgov when they had the typo where it said 100 points, 120 rebounds. That's probably what they saw. Oh yeah, he's really good.
Mitch's grandson probably was like, "Hey, Grandpappy, look," and he's like, "Yep, we're getting him." Man, oh my God, I'm so glad that guy's away from my team.
And at least
Oh,
Lawal was he could be a vet. Mozgov
yeah,
had no experience other than being
nothing.
the backup big.
Yeah,
He
he
wasn't
didn't.
anything.
I'm pretty sure like the first couple games of the season for 2016, like I just think that was so disrespectful too. Like, come on, man. But Mozgov didn't do anything well, bro. Like you said, if anything, Dang was probably the better one out of the two.
Yeah.
But it's just nah, that wasn't it.
And like even saying he was the better one doesn't mean
Yeah,
it was good. He was really bad. Both of them were
yeah,
really bad
yeah,
because they were both past their prime if they had one. Oh, well, Deng definitely had a prime. Moskov never
yeah.
had a prime.
Nope.
He kind of just faded into the sunset, got paid.
Yep. Exactly.
But,
So
best free agent signing of all time. I just threw this one in there because
yeah,
I want to be biased. Kevin Durant. I
that's
think,
fair.
I mean, like when you look at like the seismic shift of like shifting the entire NBA, it's Kevin Durant. We've never
Yeah.
seen 4 All-Stars team up like that. And it was arguably the
Hmm.
first super team we've ever seen.
Yeah.
As much as LeBron and D Wade, Chris Bosh were a super team, they weren't a super team like that. We've never
Yeah.
seen like a team win like easily every night, every day like that.
Hmm.
And man, I miss Steph, Clay, Draymond, KD, and Andre Iguodala just running the floor. The Hamptons Five. I miss that, man.
Yeah.
It was fun to
Hmm.
see. But 2 championships back to back, and even though we signed him back in like 2017, we still got grown men crying. They're
Yeah.
still
No.
complaining. But who do you have as your best?
You know, if Katie didn't go to the Warriors, nah, just kidding. You know what? I mean, I respect that pick. You know, like you said, a couple years down the line, you still have grown men crying. I'm one
Yeah.
of them. You know what I mean? And so, like, that's probably the best. You know, the franchise will have seen in
Yeah.
quite some time, unless for some reason you guys end up with Giannis.
You never know.
But hey, that's the beauty of the NBA, man. But for me, I had to go dig deep, in history, not only for the NBA history but the Lakers history. I'm gonna go with Shaq in
Yeah.
'96.
You
I
guys
mean,
stole him.
we stole him. And you know what? Jerry West, pioneer, because his track record is just amazing.
He
You
signed
know,
KD.
yeah, he signed KD, and KD and Shaq were the ones that proved to be successful. PG and Kawhi, yeah, I don't know about that, but I
Nope.
mean, yeah, Jerry West in terms of getting like superstar top tier players, Jerry West is that guy. But I just want to go with Shaq, man. 7 years, 120 million. You know,
Steal.
arguably the most dominant center of all time.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I just think that it was disrespectful what Orlando did to him. I mean, if Orlando would have kept him and Penny, because I think Penny would have never left, obviously, if Shaq
Yeah.
stayed. But with what Shaq was able to accomplish with the Lakers, like I'm so thankful and blessed for him, obviously, what he did and the 3 championships. And although it ended sour, I mean, I'm still so glad the franchise was able to retain somebody with that so much talent. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like from the jump, you see the impact he would have had, and it was just the stepping stone into the post MJ years with the Lakers going back to back to back.
Yeah.
And so not only was it that for the whole NBA community, this one is sentimental for me because this was I didn't grow up with MJ because I'm not old enough to have witnessed that. I grew up with the Lakers, and that is why, like, for those that don't know who are watching and listening to the podcast, like that's why I'm a fan. In the Philippines, they weren't showing MJ's Bulls; they were showing the Lakers, and so like that was a big part of my childhood. So not only was that the best free agent signing, like I said, it was just disrespectful. Like they were trying to give Alonzo Mourning at the time more money. Like,
Yeah.
come on, man! Like, are you serious? And so, like, yeah, the Lakers definitely, man. Shout out Jerry West, so they were able to get him. But yeah, I had KD as second because I mean, you see what LeBron did for Miami, and how he was the villain and all that stuff. But like, it's just what KD was signing himself into.
Yeah.
I still remember that Bleacher Report notification when that happened, bro. I was like, oh my god, bro, like what the hell is this, man? And that's when I was like, yeah, you know what? I might skip the NBA this year. Might go to strictly college hoops. But yeah, you see the impact that KD had, and it's just like yeah, going off of that, like I'm so excited to see him come back.
Yeah.
I mean, hey man, I'm gonna be honest. A part of me wishes that he stayed. A part of me wishes
Yeah.
that he stayed. I think if he would have stayed, like you guys would still be running the league, but
Yeah.
I think it would go back to how it once was in the 2010 eras with, how Chicago, New York,
Yeah.
all these teams were elite. But I think if he would have stayed, it would have prompted more teams to just be more competitive. So,
Yeah.
cut that tape. I never said anything. No, I'm just kidding. But you know what I mean? I do wish that he stayed,
Yeah.
same way that I wish that Shaq stayed. But, that's just the business of the NBA, I guess. So,
Yeah, I think looking back at it, it was tough because like those seasons, the last season that Katie was there, it wasn't fun. It was just all you heard was, "Oh, Katie's gonna leave. Katie's gonna leave." It's like the fan of me was like, "No, he's not gonna leave. He's having fun."
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the Clippers thing happened, and it's like,
Yeah.
he's gonna leave, but just let me enjoy this. And then it was just like constantly all you hear is he's gonna leave with Kyrie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I tricked myself into thinking, no, it's not gonna happen. He's gonna sign with the Warriors any day now.
Yeah.
And then as soon as free agency started, it's like, oh, Katie's still there. So I'm like, God
Yeah.
damn it, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was tough. And
Yeah.
but I mean, even looking back at it, like if Katie was here now, we'd still be without Clay. So it would still be a tough season, but it would have been much easier with someone like KD. But
Yeah.
I'm excited. It's going to be a fun season. I miss KD because KD hooping is a special thing to watch.
Yeah. I
He
mean,
is different.
I'll tell you this much though, like win or lose that championship against the Raptors, I think he would have left regardless, which is sad to say. Same way with Shaq and how they lost to the Pistons. Win or lose, I think he was going to leave right away because that dynamic of Kobe was just, it was just not healthy for the guy.
Yeah.
And I think, like we've discussed in earlier podcasts, KD is that type of guy who's sensitive.
Yeah.
You know
He
what
takes
I mean?
it to heart.
Like, he takes it to heart for being a superstar. You're gonna hear it, man. Like it's not for the weak. But regardless, like that All-Star weekend in the tunnel where him and Kyrie were dapping each other up, that was just a preview of what was to come, man. But I like you said, I definitely can't wait to see KD play. Like KD's one of my favorite players when he's not in a Warriors jersey. But I mean, like watching him play is just beautiful to watch. And if he can get back to at least 80%, the league is in trouble, man.
Man, I think he's gonna come back because he's not that super athletic guy. He doesn't rely on athleticism. I'm hoping he comes back, man, because he can shoot the lights out.
Yeah.
So
true.
I'm hoping for the best for him because I think the Nets are gonna be really fun to watch.
Same.
But that's all we got for our 21st podcast. Thanks for CJ to hopping back on. This has been a lot of fun. Do it all, man.
Yes, sir.
Do it all.
Yep.
And this is the first one in like a couple of weeks where it's just been you and me. So back to basics. We'll probably have
back to basics.
Back on, man. We got a couple people that want to come back on. So it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
But check us out on social media. Links down below. Comment, like, and subscribe. But that's gonna do it for us. Check you guys in the next one.